Hello again, it is I, Frieza700, and we are back with some Warhammer 40K lore on the PRIMARCHs. This time we are talking about the very most loved and most adored Primarch of them all, Sanguinius, the angel himself.
After the
So, Sanguinius. What can we really say to describe him? Well, he's the most loved, the most compassionate, and really, out of all the Primarchs, he is the closest to the Emperor out of all of them. If anything, when you look at the way he talks to his brothers and the way that he motivates people and the way that he leads his troops, it really is more or less a reflection of the Emperor himself. Especially the way that all of his brothers actually look up to Sanguinius. Even Horus himself, even though Horus was declared as possibly the best son of the Emperor, the Horus knew that the closest of his sons to the Emperor would be Sanguinius. So let's talk about how he originated. Where does he come from? So, Sanguinius, much like all the Primarchs, was taken from the Emperor as a baby. Now, the planet he was sent to was known as Baal. B-A-A-L. Now, Baal has two moons, Baal Prime and Baal Secundus. Well, Sanguinius landed on Secundus. Now, Baal is a radioactive world. Now, this world wasn't always radioactive. In fact, it wasn't always a death world. It was actually a paradise world at one point. So, what could have happened to this world to have made it no longer a paradise world? Especially, considering the way it is, both its moons are death worlds, and then the planet itself is a radioactive desert. So what the fuck happened to the moons and the planet? Well, this is where we get into the unknown territory. So we know that humanity was there. We know humanity colonized it. But judging by the way that there are old pieces of technology left around, many can pick the pieces up and put them together and just say that there was a civil war on this place during the dark age of technology when the great galactic humanity government collapsed due to the civil war and also due to warp storms. So while Baal was left isolated away from all human contact, they had really no one else to pick on but themselves. Now, whatever issues that started this war, we don't know. It could have been a war over resources. It could have been just old blood between the people. We don't know what started this civil war. We just know that a civil war happened and the humans decided that's it. Fuck all of you. And they unleashed their devastating nuclear weapons on all of them. So both moons are fucking nuked to shit and the planet itself is nuked to shit. That's great. So the two moons are death worlds, but there are still humans who live on it. So the humans on this world were exposed to a massive amount of radiation. So what do they have to deal with? What is the daily life of humans on the planet of Baal, Secundus, and Prime? Well, they have to deal with radiation, the invisible killer. They have to deal with mutants, and they have to deal with creatures that are not only alien, so already the Scorpion is big as fuck. But now, it's mutated with radiation, so now it's spewing fire out of its stinger instead of, just normally poisoning your ass. It's got toxic seas, poisonous seas, however you prefer to describe those kind of oceans that are just totally toxic for life. And they have to deal with tribal warfare. Now, they don't really have much technology. I should say this now rather than later. But the technology that they have, it's never really stated. In fact, they have vehicles. They do have them. Now, they don't know how to build them. It's really clear that they don't know how to, remake these vehicles. But they do keep them together and maintain them enough to get them from point A to point B. They're slow, they're ramshackled as fuck, but you can clearly tell that they don't know anything really about their technology that they're using. So as far as technological level, we don't know. They have radiation suits. They have Geiger counters. That's cool. but they don't seem to have really any guns. They have swords and all sorts of nice, cool little tricks and gadgets, but they don't seem to possess real firearms. So, their technology level's kind of all over the fucking place. Really, it's just survival. Just try your best to survive. Find something that's cool, use it. Find something that's total just junk, even though it's like a giant gold bar, which could be worth a lot to the right hands. Well, on these worlds, there is no such thing as currency, so get rid of the gold. Just focus on what looks cool and you'll survive. So the place that Sanguinius landed on became known as Angel's Fall, because of course when a Primarch crashes on this world, it's not exactly the gentlest of caressing touches the planet has ever faced. Usually it is a massive fucking crater left in its wake. So besides that, now here's the thing that's a little tricky. So the Primarch has wings, as you can tell by the pictures. The Primarch has angelic wings. Those are actually him. That's not like something for show. That's not something that was just, put there intentionally. No. This is where we get into a little bit of a lore conflict, because we're not entirely sure why he has wings. On one hand, some people believe that Chaos, when they flinged him across the fucking universe, the sheer amount of chaotic energies around his gestation tube could have infected him and mutated his body just a little bit to give him wings. That's one theory. I don't personally subscribe to that because the Emperor did put wards that were really powerful on the gestation tubes that stopped Chaos from ever fucking with the Primarchs, because if the Chaos Gods could get into those tubes with warp energies, they would just kill all the Primarchs. They wouldn't actually have done this. They've said this a few times in lore. They would have just killed them. But aside from that, what's the other reason? Well, when he crashed on this world, his gestation tube was open, and the world is covered in radiation, which does amazing things to your body and mutates you in a lot of ways. And him being a Primarch, he is resilient to a lot of things. Fuck, Mortarion is resistant to all forms of poison, so saying Sanguinius here was resistant enough to radiation to only get one side effect rather than a million, I think that's more believable. But that's aside the point. So, just so happens that a tribe came by. When Sanguinius crashed onto this planet, there was a tribe nearby that came across him. And they were a little conflicted, because mind you, they're survivalists. They haven't exactly had good upbringings. They know that anything that they do could kill them. And anything that they don't do could also kill them. So they know that they have to weigh their options very carefully. And they have to be sure that everyone in the tribe agrees, or else there's going to be resentment, and the tribe's going to have to deal with a little civil conflict, and that's just more death. They don't want to deal with this. So, the tribe sees the baby. But the baby has wings. Okay. Well, based on my experience with mutants, I say we kill the fucking thing. No. It's just a baby. Look at it. It looks normal human baby just with wings. We can easily take care of him. Maybe the wings will fall off eventually. This is what the tribe was dealing with. They were dealing with this conflict where should they go with their human compassion and just take the boy in despite his weird deformity? Or should they just kill him, leave him out here to die? What should they do? Well, apparently these people have a really nice soft spot. And honestly, who's to blame them? Sanguinius was a cute baby. So they took him in. Now, when they took him in, the tribe itself isn't too fascinating, so what exactly was Sanguinius just inducted into? Well, this tribe had to spend every day of its life in radiation suits, and every day they had to worry and wake up with nightmares, fearing that their Geiger counters were ticking. Now, usually if a Geiger counter ticks, that means that there's radiation nearby. But if you're wearing your Geiger counter and it starts ticking, that means that you are the radiation. This is a death sentence. If your Geiger counter starts ticking on you, this means you're gonna die soon. This is what the tribe had to deal with every day. And also, more interesting about this tribe is that not only did they have vehicles, but they also adopted warrior-like ways to survive. This is obviously more understandable because if you're fighting mutants, giant irradiated fucking creatures, and the ocean itself is out to kill you, like, it's not hard to believe that you wouldn't become a bit of a warrior yourself. But for Sanguinius, this was a great, great thing, because it turns out Sanguinius grew up really quickly, and around 3 weeks old, he killed a giant fire scorpion by himself. That is pretty hard to do, but he did it. And then he started to learn how to fight from their mentors and actually outmatched them and showed them how to fight even better than what they taught him. It became really clear that by the time he was around 1 or 2 years old, he was a fully grown man, but not quite fully grown, more or less like a teenager. Once he hits 3 years, that's when he's a full-grown man. But besides that, he's still around the teenage years, young man, very healthy. And his wings were actually growing with him. They didn't just fall off, they actually stayed growing with him. And they actually were able to sustain his body weight and make him fly. This was great. Now, Sanguinius was the first of his tribe to actually show that he could survive without a radiation suit. Now, this leads me to kind of go more along what I said earlier, which is that he is a Primarch. They are resistant to radiation. They are resistant to normal things. But on the flip side, you could always argue with me saying that, well, if radiation caused it, how the fuck did he get it in the first place? Clearly it'd be more warp capable, but hey, you know, we're not here to argue. So the tribe had a little bit of a nasty situation on its hand pretty soon. So Sanguinius pretty much starting to take up leadership, starting to show that he's better than everybody, and at a very unnatural way, he's better than them too. All of a sudden, a tribe of mutants came and attacked the tribe. Now, the tribe's name is the Blood. That's a very interesting name for a tribe of humans. But the mutants, we don't really know what their tribe name was. All we know is that the mutants came and they attacked. This pissed Sanguinius off astronomically. And he, by himself, killed hundreds of mutants. He pretty much wiped out their whole tribe by himself, just out of sheer anger that they were about to hurt the ones he loved. This could be the first time we ever see Sanguinius display the Red Thirst. Now, what's the Red Thirst? The Red Thirst is a genetic flaw in Sanguinius. He's not all perfect, but the Red Thirst means that he is a constant bloodthirsty motherfucker. Essentially, he loses control of himself at a random point in time and will butcher anything that's fucking near him. This is totally at random, and no one's safe. Well, after this mutant attack, Sanguinius told his tribe, I am leading you, and we are going to unite humanity, and we are going to take over Ball Secundus, our planet. And he did that. He took over the planet in a who knows how long time period. Because Sanguinius didn't really like talking about his history, so we don't really know how long this took. But we do know that it was rather quickly. And Sanguinius would actually fly over the battlefield and lead his troops. That is good enough to rally just about anybody. And any human tribes that disobeyed him clearly got their asses kicked. Just like any other Primarch. But what's interesting is that after Sanguinius won and conquered his world, he was now being hailed as a god. This would definitely stroke my ego. So you can kind of bet Sanguinius was really loving it. He was really fucking enjoying this. And every so often, he would hold regular ceremonies where he would give speeches to his people, and they would all praise him and his godliness and his godly figure and worship him. Well, all this fun playing God was about to end soon, because the Emperor was showing up. Now, the Emperor doesn't believe in gods. So the Emperor walks in, sneaks in really, and takes a seat with the warriors listening in on this ceremony. Now the Emperor is just showing a little bit of humility, trying to hear out this person to make sure absolutely this is his son. We don't really know what the fuck the Emperor was thinking, but I guarantee you his first thought was, there is no fucking way this is my son. Look at those wings. But then when the Primarch started to talk and move the crowd, but showed a great sense of humility, which is strange. For someone who's being praised as a god, you wouldn't consider him, humble, but he is. And this was enough for the Emperor to stand up and declare him his son. Now, unlike the other Primarchs, which is a rather interesting note, other Primarchs typically had to do a deal or a bargain with the Emperor, or just flat out disagreed with him and would try to fight him until he bested them, then they would join. Well, Sanguinius didn't do that. In fact, the moment the Emperor stood up, before the Emperor said anything, Sanguinius immediately knew who he was and bent down on a knee, cried like a bitch, and devoted his loyalty to the Emperor. This is how Sanguinius originated. And really, we don't know why Sanguinius immediately bowed down before the Emperor. Some say it's because of his capability to see the future. Others would say that it's just his sheer perception of people, that he would be able to easily recognize that the Emperor is way better than him, way more godly than all the humans and Sanguinius himself. I don't really know what to say about that. I would just say the future, because Conrad Kurz could see the future and that's how he knew the Emperor. But at the same time, there is enough credence to say that maybe Sanguinius was perceptive enough to know exactly who the Emperor was. But then that would kind of conflict with other Primarchs saying that they are just dull-witted and dull-perceptive motherfuckers who just couldn't recognize the Emperor for all of his might. But that's for you guys to decide. So, that is Sanguinius, the origins of him. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And see you guys next time. Let me know down below what you think and what we should do next.